Hello and welcome back to Seaside Garage. Today I'm going to slightly lift the Panda. I've been off-road a couple of times in this car and it's very capable, but the ground clearance, especially on the front, is a bit of a problem. There is an engine guard underneath the engine, which is a quite low one, which is also a cause of the problem, but that protects the engine, so that's good. And I hit the ground quite often with that. I suspect that the original springs in the front has collapsed a little bit, not collapsed, but the tension is lost slightly, so it's a bit lower. So just getting original springs on it will raise it. But I have actually got some springs that are slightly longer, only a couple of centimeters. But I think that is going to make quite a huge difference. But let's try. The kit I bought consists of a new shock absorber and a spring that is slightly longer than the original one, very slightly. On the rear it's leaf springs, and the way that is raised is actually by a little rubber block, or a very hard rubber block, that actually lowers the axle compared to the leaf spring, and that way raising up the ride height. I have already done that, so let's take a look at that. And right here we have the rear suspension of the Panda 4x4. This is in the raised configuration. Right here is the rubber block that makes the axle sit about 2 centimeters lower than the leaf spring than it did before. Before it was just clamped together. That makes the ride height slightly higher. To make that possible, I have also changed the rear shocks because they need to be a little bit longer to fit. Not a lot, but a little bit. And then take a look. As you can see, the rear end of a Fiat Panda, the rear axle is a very basic and very simple and very sturdy design. It is just a rear axle on 2 leaf springs. At the moment, almost all of my cars got leaf springs except my Skoda, actually, which is maybe will surprise some of you. But the Skoda is slightly more complicated than this. But the A112 got a leaf spring, and this got a leaf spring, and the Buhanga got a leaf spring. The A112 only have 1 leaf spring in the rear. That's quite special, actually. But yeah, and as you can see, it got a very small differential going to the front. It is actually in 3 pieces, I think, the drive shaft. This car is a front wheel drive normally. And if you pull the 4x4 lever, it gives drive to the rear. Very often a 4x4 is driven on the rear wheels and then you engage the front wheels, but on this one it's the opposite. But let's get to work on the front end. What we need to do up here is to loosen these 2 to remove the steering arm. Maybe that's not the name, but I'm gonna call it today. And then there is a small bolt in here that holds the brake line. And then these big bolts needs to be removed. And then it's these. And then it's these up here that needs to be removed. And then I can take the entire shock tower out. Unfortunately, the kit comes with a new, is it called a shock tower? I'm unsure, but a shock absorber and a spring. But it does not come with the top or suspension bearing in the top, which means that I have to take this one apart to make it work. That's a shame because it would be a lot easier to just fit the other thing. I should have bought a new top end bearing because then I could just shove it in, and then if I wanted to go back it would be a lot easier. Doing it this way I will need to clamp the or compress the spring and then remove it. But let's get to work. I have had a very long and very fun day today, actually. But in Denmark at the moment we have a heat wave and it's close to 30 degrees Celsius, which is around 12 degrees more than I really am built for. I am not that keen on very high heat. So I've just been so sweaty and slow all day. But the very fun part of today was that I went to a island not that long away from where I live and picked up, unfortunately not for me, for myself, but for my friend. Me and my friend went there and picked up around 15 old Velo Solexes. I'm gonna show you a picture of that. They all need a lot of work, but they are very cool. As you may know, I really like Velo Solexes, so it was nice. And it's a very good friend of mine who bought them, and I think that I'm going to be involved in them in one way or another. So that's fun. After that, I drove my A112 all the way to the vaccine place and got my first vaccine shot. Oh, it's locked. And got my first vaccine shot against Corona. And that's nice. I'm always a bit nervous about stuff like that, but it wasn't too bad. And that also marks the beginning of a future, hopefully, I really hope, where car meets gets bigger and car shows and old spare part markets and all that. And I'm really looking forward to that. And of course, getting the world back on track. I feel a little bit bad being in the rich parts of the world that gets the vaccine first, because there are people who need them more than we do to begin with, but that's not something I control. That is off. Now we should be able to take this apart like that. Then we need to take these ones off. And one important thing to add is that I'm lifting this car a couple of centimeters. And I'm not sure, or well, I know that it is going to affect the geometry of the suspension setup. I'm not sure that it matters, but I could end up having to do something about the camber angle, because it will begin to camber a little bit Trabantish if it gets too high, I think. But I think because it's not a lot, that it will be all right. But I don't know yet. We'll see about that. And then I need to remove the 13s on top. Like that. And I can take it out. Right, here it is. I am going to compress this spring and put it over onto the new strut tower shock absorber thingy. I'm going to do that off camera. I have made a video before compressing springs, and I believe I have at least. And it's something that needs your full attention, so I'm not going to videotape it today because of me being very tired and vaccinated, and it's late and all that. So be right back. Here we go, the new unit. And as you can see, everything is new except the top end. And I wish I just bought a new one of those, because one thing is that it's a bit worn, it's okay. Another thing is it would be a lot easier to just be able to switch back if I don't like this setup. But anyway, fitting is just reversal of removing. Very easy. This car is really nice to work on because it is not new, but it feels so new because it has not been in my country for very long, so it's not really rusty. And it's well kept with undercarriage protection and oil. And it's a low mileage one. That is also a bit unusual in my collections. So it is very easy to work on. Nothing is stuck. And then just look at the bolt. It looks pretty new. So that's also very nice. And so the front end is now raised. The rear end is raised. I still need to keep an eye out on the camber angle on the wheel now, because it is going to be more like this. The car is over here, and then like this, which is not ideal. You want it to be a little bit like this. I will have to keep an eye out on that. I don't think it matters because it's a very slightly raised, but it could be a problem. I will look into that. Today I'm going to fit the off-road tires because I want to try them, but I think last time I tried them, I came to the conclusion that they were way too noisy. But I'm going to try it again because they look so cool. But I think they will only be on for a very short time. Let's take a look at them. They are so cool. But this is just to see how it looks, and it will most likely be taken off very quickly again because, well, last time I haven't actually driven past 50 kilometers per hour, because that is a point that these will really start to drone. They really like when you drive it, and even though they are fun looking and most likely pretty good off-road, you will get very tired of it. But yeah, I have to try it. I really should have measured it before racing it, but now it's done, and I think it's a bit higher, which I was expecting. I was expecting the rear to be raised 2 centimeters. The front I was unsure because I did not know how low the old springs was compressed or fatigued. But it got some ground clearance now, that's for sure. And the camber is looking very ridiculous right now, but that is not the way it's going to be because it has just been lowered, so it has forced the wheels inwards. So I don't think it's that bad, but I might have to alter the camber angle a little bit, not on the rear but on the front. I'm unsure about that, but it's pretty good. This is the ground clearance, and this is my fist, and I think I can have my fist almost 3 times here. That's a very weird thing to say, I know, but it's pretty good. I think it will be a lot better in the rough stuff now. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one. The smallest off-road monster in the world.